Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome into yet another interesting tutorial. My name is Uche and right in this channel I share sewing tutorials and DIY. If today is your first time of coming across my channel or my video, you are highly welcome, and to all my returning subscribers, I really appreciate you all and I love you all. In this particular video, I'm going to teach you how to make this lovely jumpsuit right on your screen. If this sounds like what you're interested in, grab your popcorn and let us get started. To make this jumpsuit, you will need any fabric of your choice, and I have a vintage fabric. I have roughly 4 yards of vintage fabric. So out of the 4 yards, I cut out 25 inches from it. I'm going to use it to draft the upper part, and we all know that vintage comes in length 60. All right, so the remaining fabric I have, which is about 3 yards and 11 inches, let me just call it 3.5 yards. I will go ahead now to fold the whole 3.5 yards into 2. All right, so I'll go ahead to fold it into 2, even though it is not up to 3.5 yards. So if you are a tall person, do way to make use of exactly 3.5 yards for this down part. All right, so after folding the 3.5 yards into 2, I will go ahead now to grab one end this way, okay, and fold it in a triangular form, just the same way we fold our flay. All right, I will fold it like this and I will arrange it properly. Okay, so for those that did not understand what I did here, I'm going to use this paper to make an illustration. Let me just assume that this is the 3.5 yards and this is the length 60. All right, so you're going to go ahead to fold the 3.5 yards into 2 this way. All right, let me just use the part that does not have a writing. Okay, so fold the 3.5 yards into 2 this way. All right, and after folding it into 2, you will go ahead to grab one point. Okay, you can choose the upper part or the down part. Grab one point and fold it in a triangular form, just as you can see me doing this way. And this is exactly what I did on my fabric. All right, so this part now is unfold, this part now is not open, which is this part, and this other part is open, which is this part. I just hope you understood what I did here. Oh yeah, let's continue. So from the upper part, I'm going to mark out 4 inches. All right, mark out 4 inches from that upper part all the way to the hem of the fabric. As you can see what I'm doing, connect it into a straight line all the way to the hem of the fabric, as you can see me doing like this. So after marking it out, I will go ahead to divide my waist measurement by 4, which gave me 8 inches. I will add extra ½ inch, all right, to it, and I'm going to make a rough curve this way. So do not include the 4 inches we marked out earlier. Okay, I will make a rough curve as you can see me doing, and I'm going to make a point where I got my waist measurement divided by 4. So from the top part, I'm going to measure up to that point I made, and I will take it all around my, all right, to get my waist measurement, as you can see me doing this way. So after marking it out, I'm going to go ahead now to cross check if my waist measurement is complete, right? And I have exactly 8.5 inches there. All right, so I'll go ahead now to take my crotch depth. Okay, so from the waistline, you're going to mark your hip measurement divided by 4 and add extra 1.5 inches to it. So my hip measurement divided by 4 is 11 inches, and I added extra 1.5 inches to it, which gave me 12.5. So I'm going to connect that line. All right, connect it to the 4 inches we marked out earlier. All right, and then from that point, from the crotch depth, you will go up by 4 inches, and you will go ahead now to use your curve ruler to connect this way. If you don't understand what I'm saying, just watch what I just did. Curve out your crotch like this. Okay, and that is all for that. So next, you're going to take off your half length from the length of your jumpsuit, and whatsoever you have left, you're going to place your tape on the waistline and mark it out. So after I minused my half length from the length of my jumpsuit, I was left with 42 inches, and I'm going ahead to mark the 42 inches. Please do way to include your hemming allowance. Okay, so you can see the way I'm taking it. Make sure you adjust your tape on the upper part and on the down part. So after marking it out, I will connect everything properly, and I will go ahead to cut out, as you can see me doing this way. After cutting out, I will just go ahead to cut out the rough part of this fabric, only the rough parts please. So I will cut out the rough part of this fabric and then cut out my crotch and my waistline, and that is all for that. So this is what we have, and you are going to notch this part. So this is what you will have. If you want to add a pocket to this, you will go ahead to slit this part open, but I'm not adding a pocket, so there is no need of slitting it open. I'll just go ahead to open it up like this. When you open it up this way, you will have two pieces. Okay, so you're going to choose the parts that you want to be your front. So for me, I'm going to choose this part that have my marking as my front. The next thing I'm going to do is to reduce these 4 inches we marked out earlier. So this is my front. I'm going to reduce it by 1 inch. Okay, so reduce it by 1 inch, and I will go ahead now to connect it into a straight line and proceed to cut it away. All right, so after cutting it out, this is what you will have. All right, this is what you have. You can go ahead just to label the front and label the back. All right, so this is what you will have. You are going to go ahead now to sew. Okay, so this is my back side. This part now is the back. You can see how long the crotch is, and the other side I reduced is my front. So I'll go ahead now to sew from this down part by 1/2 inch, and now this upper part I will sew by 1 inch because I'm going to have a zipper at that point, and the front I'm going to sew by 1/2 inch. So after sewing, you can see what I have. I sew the front with 1/2 inch alone, and the back I sew by 1 inch at the upper part, and then the crotch area I used 1/2 inch. Hope you understood what I just explained. So I'm going to open it up this way, bring the joining we have around the crotch. I will match it up and pin it together. So we're going to sew from one side of the leg, all right, to the other side with just 1/2 inch. I will go ahead to do that, and I will return back. After I was done sewing, you can see how clean and beautiful this look like. So you can go ahead to hem the down part, and I will keep this aside while we work on the upper part. All right, so I do not want this tutorial to be too long. I'm gonna have to mark out some basic line. So this is my shoulder line, this is my chest line, and this is my waist line. So my neck width is 3.5 inches, the depth is 3.5 inches. I took my shoulder measurement, all right, took my shoulder slope, and I connected it to the chest line. I hope this is understandable. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my bust measurement divided by 4 on my chest line, add my seam allowance, come to my waistline, take my waist measurement divided by 4, add my seam allowance and my dart allowance. So if you don't want to add a dart to this, you skip to add the dart allowance. All right, I'll go ahead to connect my waist measurement to my bust measurement this way. So I'm going to measure what I have from the shoulder slope to the chest line. I will find the midpoint and make a mark. I will come in by 1/2 inch, and I will go ahead now to connect all the 3 points together in order to form my armhole curve. All right, so this is what I have. So I'm going to use this tracing wheel now to trace everything out so that it will reflect on this part. If you don't have a tracing wheel, you will mark all of this on the other side. All right, so I'll go ahead now to trace. So guys, at this point, if you are yet to subscribe to the channel, please kindly do that. It helps my channel to grow. Thank you for subscribing, and let us continue with the tutorial. So after doing all that, I will open up and I will mark out this center line right here, and I will go ahead to trace everything I have traced out on the other side of the paper. So that center line is very, very important. All right, I'm going ahead now to trace everything out, and also mark out these midpoints I have from my shoulder to my chest line. All right, so I'll come to the neckline, come out by 1/2 inch. All right, come out by 1/2 inch, and after the 1/2 inch, I will take how wide I want my shoulder to be. I am marking 2.5 inches. Okay, so after the neckline, I came out by 1/2 inch, and then I took how wide I want the shoulder to be. After that is done, I will come to the center of the pattern paper. After the neck measurement, I will come down by 1 inch. All right, okay, so I'll come down by 1 inch after the neck depth, and I'll go ahead to connect it to the 1/2 inch I came out by. Can you see what I'm doing? So just watch what I'm doing. All right, so after doing all that, I'm going to also connect this to this midpoint here, this to here. All right, remember that is our chest line. I will connect it to the chest line. All right, at that point my marker is no longer showing. Okay, so this is what I have. Hope you understood what I just did here. If you don't understand, you can go back and rewatch the tutorial. So from this point I will also come down by 1 inch here, and I will go ahead to connect it to that first line. All right, just this way, and that is all for that. You can see how simple it looks. Okay, also go ahead to blend out this part, this chest line area, so it doesn't look pointy, and that is all we need. So you're going to go ahead now to cut this out. Please pay attention to how I am going to cut this out right now. All right, I'm cutting out my waistline, cut out the side as you can see, and then cut out from here. Just watch what I'm doing carefully. Okay, then cut out the shoulder and cut out this center. All right, okay, cut out this center, and that is all we need for this tutorial. All right, we are good to go. I will go ahead now to keep this aside while I draft the back piece. So for the back piece, I've gone ahead to cut out a normal half length. I added ½ inch on the shoulder of the back because I'm still going to add ½ inch on the pattern paper when I'm drafting on my fabric. So I added my zipper allowance as well. So from the zipper allowance, I will go in by 0.75 inches and I will slant it to the upper part. This is to eliminate any form of zipper bulge. Hope you understand. So I'll go ahead now to cut this out. So guys, remember that this is a normal half length bodice. My shoulder is still intact. I've not worked on the shoulder yet. Okay, if you join this like this, you notice that the back piece is going to be longer around the shoulder area. So you're going to do the same thing you did on the front part. I also came in by ½ inch, just like I did on the pattern paper. Right from the neckline, I came out by ½ inch. I will blend it back into my neckline this way. Right after that, you're also going to measure how wide you want your shoulder to be, just like I did for the front. I marked out 2½ inches, and from the 2½ inches point, I'm going to connect it down in a straight manner up to the chest line. All right, after connecting it up to the chest line, I will also connect it across into this way. So from that 2½ inches, connect into a straight line and blend it to the armhole. All right, so I'm not going to cut directly on that 1½ inches. I will cut away ½ inch. By the time I will cut this out on my main fabric, I will also add the ½ inch on the main fabric, because at the end of the day we are going to turn the armhole with that ½ inch. I just hope you understood. All right, so go ahead to cut away ½ inch now and cut it into the armhole, and this is what I have it looking like. I've gone ahead to cut out the front piece. All right, adding ½ inch on that part, and on the center front I also added ½ inch because I'm going to turn that part as well. All right, so this is what I have, and then the down part ½ inch, and every other side remains the same. Can you see? So I will now go ahead to open up. Before I open up, I'm going to notch that chest line. All right, just grab that point and notch. All right, so notch that chest line, or that is where our crisscross is going to happen. All right, so this is what I have. So I cut out 4 pieces for each of them, 2 pieces for lining piece and 2 pieces for the main fabric. I'll go ahead now to open it up so we all can see what we have. So this is what it's going to look like. Can you see that notch is going to overlap on the chest line this way? All right, so I will go ahead now to place them right side facing right side. I'm going to sew this neckline area and then sew from here up to that notch I made. I will stop at the notch. So for the back, I'm going to sew the neckline. All right, I will sew the neckline and also sew my armhole. Okay, I'm going to sew everything by 1/2 inch and I bring it back. So after I was done turning my neckline and the armhole, this part is still open. Can you see? So I'm going to go ahead now to take my dart. Alright, this tutorial is becoming too long. I might not go into detail on how to take dart, but I'm going to explain to you how to do that. So from the center back, you're going to mark out your zipper allowance, then mark out your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 4 after the zipper allowance, divided by 2 rather, your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 after the zipper allowance. So the length of my dart is 5 inches. We're going to take 1/2 inch on both sides of the line, all right, and then slant it into the 5 inches length. All right, so you're going to go ahead now to grab that point and sew in your dart, and that is what I'm going to do for all the whole 4 pieces. All right, so for the front, I've gone ahead to turn up to the point I notched. All right, can you see? This is where I made the notch, so I've turned it and also turned the neckline area. So I'm going to go ahead now to open this up this way, open the lining piece as well. I will go ahead now to match the notches I made. So I'm going to go ahead to sew by 1/2 inch and also sew the other side by 1/2 inch. And after sewing, this is what it looks like. I've taken my dart. I will now go ahead to close the zipper allowance by 1/2 inch as well, and also repeat the same thing on the other side. Close the zipper allowance by just 1/2 inch. So guys, for the front part, I have closed that center front and I open up the seams and pressed flat. All right, so this is what it looks like, and I also went ahead to take in my dart. All right, so this is what it will look like. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead to join the front and the back on the shoulders. Go ahead to stitch by 1/2 inch the 2 shoulders by 1/2 inch, and also I will go ahead now to turn this front armhole. I'll turn it. I'll also repeat the same thing on the other side. After I was done doing all that, I iron out everything properly, and you can see how beautiful it looks. So I will now go ahead to sew these two, the front and the back. All right, I'm going to open it up this way, this side. I'll go ahead to sew it. I want my seam to be inside, so if you want your seam to be outside, I'm going to turn that side separately, but because I want my seam to be inside, I'm going to sew the front and the back this way. All right, I will go ahead first of all to pin in the armholes, then I will go ahead to sew from one side to the other. All right, can you see what I'm doing? Open up, lining to lining, main fabric to main fabric, and so after I was done sewing, you can see that all the seams are hidden inside. So this is what it looks like. So go ahead now to join into the down part. You can see I have opened up the center back up to 7 inches. So make sure you top stitch after opening. All right, I'll go ahead now to sew join the front and the back on the waistline, and after doing that, I will add my zipper. And so guys, this is the end result. Can you see how pretty it is sitting on my body? So guys, I have a good news for you all. To those that have been asking how to request tutorial from me, you can follow me up on Facebook, follow me up on Instagram as Stitches by Uche, and send me a DM of the tutorial you want me to create, and I'm going to create it. All right, so it's very, very simple. Just follow me on Instagram and on Facebook by Stitches by Uche, and then you send me the picture. So if you find value on this particular tutorial, do well to like this video, share, and drop your comments. I love you all. See you on the next one.